All right, guys, so we are now on Unit 2. So we are starting out with Section 2.1 notes, factoring the greatest common factor, short for GCF, and by factor by grouping, okay? So we have some vocabulary here. The first one is called factors. Factors are, okay, so if you have factors, for example, down here, we have factor of 12. Let me get a different color. Let's say green. Factor 12, we can have multiple answers. The first one could be 1 times 2, 1 times 2, 1 times 12, my bad. Another one, we can call it 2 times 6. Those are all factors of 12. So numbers that are multiplying equal out to 12. We could also have 3 and 4. We could have, what else? 4 and 3, but that's the same thing as 3 and 4, so we don't write it again. We can have 6 and 2, but then that's the same thing, so we don't write it again. And then 12 and 1. So those are the factors. So we don't have any more besides those sets, okay? So we got 3 sets that will multiply to equal to 12. So those are the factors of 12. Sometimes, if you guys remember, we factor like this, right? Factors of 12 could be like this. 2 times 6. And then we break that down again as 2 times 3. These are called prime factors, which we will learn in a little bit, okay, down and below. So find the factors of 12. We can have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So factors, a number or an algebraic expression that divides another number or expression evenly. That means no remainder, okay? Factors of 45, okay? Prime factor, this is the one that we kind of talked about this. So prime factors are when we take the 12 and we break it down until they are in prime numbers. So remember, 1 is not a prime number. So 2 and 6, or we can even do 3 and 4, guys. Then 6 is not a prime, so we go further, 2 and 3. So these are all the prime numbers that are factors of 12. Well, over here to the right, we can do 3 and 4. So 3 is a prime number, 4 isn't. So 4 is 2 times 2. So when we write our answer, we can write it from smallest to biggest. So 2, 2, and 3. That's one way to write it. Now, some students like to write this way, 2 times 2 times 3. That's also okay to do. Okay. Terms. Terms, they are single number or variable, okay, which is called a monomial, that are separated by plus or minus sign. So the first one is a monomial, one term. So for example, a 2 is a term. Sometimes we have, another example would be negative 100x, y, z. Even though that's a lot, but that's still one term because it's not separated by a plus or minus. So that means if you are multiplying or dividing, that's still one term. Two terms, guys, would be 2 minus 100x, y, z, because it's separated by a minus. Another example would be negative 11 plus 49x. That means there's two terms because we are separated by a plus or a minus. A trinomial means 3 terms, like a tricycle. So for example, x plus y plus z, that would be 3 terms. Or we can have 2x squared minus 11x plus 49. That's also 3 terms, okay? Polynomial, guys, that means we have 2 or more terms. So a binomial qualifies for a polynomial, and a trinomial qualifies for a polynomial. Usually we use the word polynomial if we have 4 or more, okay? So for example, we would have 9x squared plus 9 plus 11y squared minus 101. So that would be 4 terms. So that's a polynomial. We could have x squared minus 9. That's a binomial, but it's also a polynomial. We could have a trinomial, x squared minus 2x plus 1. That's a trinomial. That's also called a polynomial because it's 2 or more, okay? Greatest common factor, it's short, we normally in class, I'm just going to say GCF, which is the largest factor that all of the terms have in common. Okay, so if you need to pause and write this down, please do so. Okay, so let's go to examples 1, 2, 3, and 4. So our direction sets, examples 1 to 4, factor out the greatest common factor, and check by multiplying. Distributive means multiplying, okay? So we have 9x to the 4th plus 3x to the 3rd plus 12x squared. So first, look at the numbers only. What is the biggest number? We can factor out. So GCF is the biggest number we can take out from 9 and 3 and 12. So all of those numbers, they have a 3 in common. That's the biggest number they have. So this is, break this down as 3 times 3, that's 9. And x to the 4th, guys, think of it as 4 x's like this. And then you have a 3 times 1 is 3. X to the 3rd is 3 x's, just like that. 12 is 3 times 4. X squared is x times x. So when we look at the biggest number they have in common, they all have a 3. Then let's look at the variable. What is the biggest variable power we have? So we have x, 2 x's here, 3 x's over here, so they all have x squared in common. So for this one student, your GCF is 3x squared. So we take that out. When we say we take that out, meaning that we are going to go in and divide each and every term by it. So divide this by 3x squared, divide this by 3x squared, divide this by 3x squared. That's what factor means. We take it out, then to get the remainder, to find the remainder, we divide each and every term by the GCF. So just like this, we divide this by 3x squared, divide this by 3x squared, we divide this by 3x squared, okay? That tells us that, hey, the 3 and the 3 is going to cancel. We have 2 x's on the top, and this is x squared, so that's going to cancel. So this will allow us, we have 1 3 left and 2 x's left, so 3x squared. Similarly to this one, 3 and 3 is going to cancel. X squared would cancel with 2 of those. So we have 1x left, or we just write an x, okay? 3 is going to cancel with that 3. Both of those x's is going to reduce down to that. So this last term, we just have 4. So our final answer, guys, after we factor out the greatest common factor of 3x squared is 3x squared plus x plus 4. Then it says, okay, now take that answer and check by using the distributive property. So write it again and FOIL it back. When you FOIL these back, we need to have the exact answer as the original. So 3x squared times 3x squared, guys, is going to be 9. When you multiply, you are going to add the power, so 9x to the 4th. 3x squared times 1x, that's going to be 3x squared. And remember, this is a power of 1, and you add the exponents, so x to the 3rd. 3x squared times 4, this is going to take 12, and the 4 doesn't have any x's, so we are just going to put that back in. So now check that out and check the original. Are they the same? If they are, then that means you guys factor it out correctly. Number 2, let's go on to this one. This is a binomial. So let's start out with the GCF. 16, as you can see, we can have 4 times 4, or we can have 8 times 2, or we can have 16 times 1. 12, guys, we have 4 times 3, or we can have 6 times 2, or we can have 12 times 1. So we want to identify the biggest number that they both have in common, which is going to be a 4 here. We have an m over here because it's m times m, so an m and an m. Over here we have an m and an n. So they both have a 4 and an m in common. So the GCF for this particular question is 4m. So similarly, I'm going to erase these ones, okay? Similarly, we are going to factor out the GCF, meaning that we are going to take out 4m. So that means we go in and divide each term by whatever we just got done factoring, in this case 4m. And we can go, okay, 4 and 4 is going to cancel, 1m and 1m is going to cancel, so that means we have 4 left and an m, so 4m. And 4 and 4 is going to cancel, we have 3 left, an m and an m, so that's an n, so that's an addition of 3n, and that's how we box that up. Now let's copy that back down and multiply it back, distribute it back to see if we get the original. So 4m times 4m plus 3n, let's FOIL. 4 times 4 is 16, m times m is going to be m squared. 4m times 3n, that's going to be 12, An m and an n, we can't add the power because they are not the same variable. So we just multiply together. Let's box that up. Let's compare to the original, and they look exactly the same, meaning that our factor is right. Okay. Next one, 3x squared minus 6x minus 30. Similarly, 3 is going to be 3 times 1. X squared is x times x. 6, guys, is 3 times 2, and then there's an x. 30 is going to be 6 times 5. And so it appears that we all have a 3 in common, and that, well, 6 actually, we can break 6 down. How about let's break 6 down to 3 times 2. So it looks like we have a 3 in common. So over here, we have 3 times 10, okay? So G, C, F. For this one, we just have 3. So we are now going to divide each and every term by the GCF. Okay, remember when we factor it out, it's gonna be in the front and then the leftover goes inside. So this is gonna say 3 and 3 is gonna cancel. So that means we have 1 times x, so that's going to be x squared. 3 and 3, that's going to be reduced. So minus 2x left. We have 3 and 3 cancel. Then 5 times 2, guys, that's going to be 10. Okay, and box that up. Let's write that back down and distribute that back to see if we get the original. 3 times x squared minus 2x minus 10. All right, 3 times x squared, that's 3x squared. 3 times negative 2x is negative 6x. 3 times 10 is negative 10. Let's box that up and let's compare to the original. If they look exactly the same, that means we did the factoring correctly.